From the Homestead Studios in Santa Clarita, California, it's Just the Tip-Sters with Melissa Morgan.
In my accurate opinion,
if you've got a tip for Melissa, that face you recognized on a true crime special, a chance meeting that made your hair stand on end, the one thing bacon doesn't make better, tell us about it by calling the Tipster hotline at 832-TIPSTER. That's 832-847-7837, or send an email to jttipsters@gmail.com. You just might hear your tip on the podcast. And now here's your host, searching all the stores for exclusive designer fashions for the dog, Melissa Morgan.
More cowbell. You shut up.
Yeah.
We have the most fashionable little doggy in the neighborhood.
Yeah, right. Because you care more about what the dog wears than what you wear.
Look.
Yeah.
We're in the middle of a pandemic. I don't give a shit what I wear.
Right. So.
But Siren Marie Morgan Humphreys looks stunning.
Yeah.
On her walk.
She looks miserable. She looks like...
you stop
you
it.
You put these little things... She's got one with a hoodie. I mean, she puts the hoodie on the dog, and the dog looks like... Oh, why are you doing... Why is this...
I think she looks real gangsta and street. I don't leave it on her for long. Why do you make me sound like an abuser?
Think about dogs is that they love us so much that they'll do just about anything for us. But they look at us like, okay, I love you and I'm doing this for you, but will you please take this off of me now?
I take it off after I take a picture. Only a couple times has she worn a coat out on a walk, and that was when it was raining or cold.
Okay.
Which doesn't happen often here.
Well, she's got fur.
I know that's what all the vets tell me. They're like, they have fur. I'm
right.
Like, hey, fuck you. I got this fucking purple pink ombre puffy jacket for $10. You can fuck right off, veterinarian.
Yeah, that goes over great with the vets too when she talks to them like that.
They laugh at me because they know I am who I am.
Actually, there's probably people who are far worse than you are about this. So, in fact, I know there are.
I've never had a little dog that you can put little clothes on, and I love it. I've always had bigger dogs, and Siren is, on the smaller end of, a bigger dog. She's 40 pounds. Right. So it's not easy to find a lot of clothes to fit her, although she's very kind of lean.
Very lean. Oh my God. Yeah.
So, but it's just fun sometimes to put her and stuff.
Okay.
I am taking her sailor dress to Orange County.
Okay.
So that's the only clothing I'm taking. It's a very light, it's almost like a halter dress. So
look, you're talking about it like she's... It's almost like a halter dress.
It's very cool and summery and has little ruffles and a little anchor. It's a little sailor. You pipe down in there, sunshine.
All right.
You pipe down in there.
All right.
So before I start talking about this episode, I want to take a minute and say thank you to the sweet people who rate, review, subscribe to our podcast, send us emails. We've gotten some great emails this week. And I wish I had more information to send back the people that emailed. I gave them the best information I could on where to send tips. And, what they're saying is very true about the cases they're talking about. But, I give the information that I have about where to send a tip, to the proper law enforcement agency. And that's about the best I can do. I can offer some advice on maybe how to get your tip, better recognized, but, it's up to you guys, you tipsters who have ideas about cases, and I am grateful to hear your thoughts about your theories about cases. But if you would like to send us an email, it's jttipsters@gmail.com. We would be very grateful if you went to Apple Podcasts, took some time to rate the podcast, especially if you like it, to review, if you don't mind sitting down and taking a few minutes to write a review. It helps other people find us, and we would be very grateful to be found, for sure. And you can subscribe to the podcast in whatever listening service you listen to, and you can call us at 832-847-7837. And I wanted to say a special shout out to our friend Bridget, who hosts the podcast Superhero of Love. And she's an author and wrote a book to go along with the podcast. And she interviews fascinating people, other authors, energy workers. It's a really great podcast, but she had an episode this week that just meant a lot to me. It's episode 103, and she includes a guided meditation. And it's a meditation on how to calm your heart during a quarantine. And it's a lovely meditation that I just needed desperately right now. So check out the Superhero of Love podcast if that's something you think you'd be interested in. The guided meditation is not long. It might only be 10 minutes or so, but it's so worth it. It just calmed my ass right down. And I was really grateful.
Bridget's kind of an amazing person.
She is really a force of nature. And I mean, she works double time, not just full time, but double time, and writes and for different outlets, and hosts this podcast. And I don't know how she does it. There's only so many hours in the day. Sometimes I feel like she stops time and makes it work for her, where she, bends time and space. She's that much of a force of nature. She somehow fits it into every day. So
she's the one that, on our wedding day, it was so interesting because I checked into the hotel before the wedding to get dressed, and it was just it was in our room. It was a nice hotel, and I went in, and I must have missed her just by seconds. She could have walked in there while I was naked changing my clothes, but somehow or another she convinced
she bribed a guard.
Yeah, she bribed a guard or somebody at the hotel. We got back from our reception, and we entered into the room, and it was
decorated with signs and rose petals on the bed, and Diet Mountain Dew and Diet Coke on the little table for both me and Mark.
Now, not just a can or two, but like cases of it. It was anyway. And I don't know. She's got endless energy, but she's a remarkable person.
Yeah, she's really she's a force of nature. Really. A gift to the universe, but her podcast just meant a lot to me, so I wanted to do a shout out for that, because it's, and she says, my life hasn't been compromised all that much. She does a lot of work from home. She used to travel a lot more for her work, but she does a lot of work from home. And she said, I have friends who have lost people, family and friends. They've lost them. They've lost their jobs, their businesses. And she said, my life hasn't been impacted that much. And she, gave me a way to reframe things. My life hasn't been impacted that much either. So I feel everything that's changed in my life is like the cause of existential angst. Like I probably feel worse than I am mentally. And I know my life is really terrific and blessed. And when I heard her say that, I thought, she is right. I don't need to be whining as much as I am whining, because a quarantine for most of us, isn't a death sentence. And it just, feels hard some days, harder some days than others. But, we're going to make it through this, and it's going to be okay. And I just need to remind myself that. And that's why it's fantastic to have people like Bridget, who is a shining beacon, who reminds us, in her way. She reminds us that, we're all going to be okay. And it was just like a really great tap on the shoulder I needed. So I was really grateful for her podcast this week. So an immediate left turn into murder. So Bruce Roberts lived in the upscale neighborhood of Greenwich near Sydney in Australia. And he was, eccentric. He was unusual, lived alone. He would talk to himself a lot, I guess, like out, digging holes in his backyard. The neighbors would hear him a lot. He would, be friendly across the fence, hey, how you doing? But very short conversations. His neighbors describe him as being like somewhat, childlike, just kept to himself. One neighbor mentions that he and his wife a Christmas card every year and constantly be wishing their dog Merry Christmas. And he would mention to Bruce, well, thank you. That's very sweet, but the dog has passed away. And every year he would be like, I hope your dog has a good Christmas. And it's like, okay. So, he's a little different.
A little odd.
He would walk up and down, the kind of tree-lined suburban area. It's very, very suburban, beautiful houses. Really well-maintained, beautiful houses in an upscale area. I mean, the median price of a home in Greenwich is like $2.5 million in American dollars. And it was purchased in 1991 by his mother for $200,000. Not long after that, his mom passed away, so he inherited the house. So he'd been living there since the early 90s and by himself. And he becomes a hoarder. And there's newspapers and telephone books and layers of dust everywhere. The pictures that came out after Mr. Roberts was found dead are, those nightmarish pictures from the TV show Hoarders, Buried Alive. My favorite picture was this old black rotary dial phone that just had, I don't know, a half an inch of like black dust or dirt on it.
Ooh.
It was like nothing had been disturbed for many years. The pictures are pretty fascinating. The pictures of search dogs looking in the backyard, and you can find the pictures online very easily on Daily Mail, Australia, all kinds of, all you have to do is put in Bruce Roberts, and you're gonna get a whole lot of fun shit, because this is a fairly new case. So July 7th of 2017, one of the local grocery store owners notices that Bruce hasn't been in for groceries in a while. So he notifies the police. Some of the neighbors have knocked on the door, try to get, someone to answer, and they can't. So the police do a welfare check and find that 61-year-old Bruce Roberts had died of a heart attack sometime in July of 2017 in his home. The neighbors were like, I hadn't seen him out for a couple days. He is always usually walking up and down the street. He would go into town to the grocery store a couple times a week for fresh food, which he, apparently didn't really take a whole lot of care in taking out of the house. Although the neighbors said, I did notice he hadn't taken his garbage out for the last several days. So they go into the house and they're like, this is a hoarder's house. And he had, no family, no kids, not a lot of friends. In his will, he had left the home to some cousins who lived very far away in another part of the country, and several charities. He had left some money to charities. I would give anything to know what those charities were. I don't know if they were, animal charities or, dog Christmas card charities. I would love to know where his money was going to go. So it looked like he had just, had a heart attack on his floor, and he dropped where he was, and that's that. Now, why it takes the better part of a year for, maybe it's, a holdup in the estate, the cousins, having to find a company like 1-800-GOT-JUNK or something, and the Australian version, to come and clean the house, and they end up doing something called a forensic cleaning, which they then have to repeat, because cleaners removing junk find the mummified body of a man rolled up in a rug in his living room that the police missed.
Oh my.
When he was found.
Because he was such a hoarder.
Right.
I mean, it's just another rolled up rug.
Yep. Covered with newspapers and garbage and piles of stuff. So it takes a while to identify the man, and he had apparently been there. They're retracing the steps, and I honestly am digging around for all the information I can find, and there hasn't been a whole lot since August of 2018. They haven't released a whole lot more. So this was May of 2018. It was like 10 months after he died. They find another dead guy in his house, rolled up in a rug in his living room. And the more reports that come out, it appears that Shane Snellman, who had been missing for 10 years.
10 years?
Well, there's a discussion about exactly how long he'd been missing, because he had been, the last time he had been seen by family, and I will tell you about his situation, which is really sad and really odd. The last time he had been seen by family was about 2008 in a prison visit by a niece. He had been seen while he was in prison. He was kind of a petty criminal, but, broke into people's homes, fraud. He just kind of always skated, under the radar, like just didn't have a whole lot to do in life except maybe live off other people. I mean, he just, he looked like he'd kind of had, but he had a really difficult beginning to his life, which I will tell you about. But now what's interesting is that they believe Shane Snellman somehow broke into Bruce Roberts' home and he shot him. And
wait, Bruce shot Shane?
Yep.
Okay.
And he just laid there where he was, and that's it. About 6 years before Bruce Roberts died.
I'm sorry, I shouldn't laugh. I mean...
No, I know. It's the craziest thing, because at first you think, oh, this is bullshit. This is bullshit. It was like his lover, or they had some sort of fight, or maybe Shane was doing, work for Bruce Roberts and, wanted more money, or I'm inventing all these things in my head. No. They had no connection. At least that's, what's reported.
Well, wouldn't it have smelled bad after a few days? I mean,
yes, there were some air fresheners scattered around Shane's body.
He just took the Glade and just kind of sprayed it around the body until the smell went away?
Here's a pine tree shaped piece of cardboard. Stop stinking, dead guy.
With all that clutter, I'm surprised there weren't bugs that came in or something.
Well, I'm pretty sure things were not looking great. I do have to say it's sort of hilarious. I have a couple of quotes from the listing agent who sold the house after, Bruce and Shane were both removed.
I mean, they didn't just burn it down?
No. They were like, we are happy to repaint. Really?
No shit.
Really? But it's hilariously bad. And he made very sure to mention any potential buyers that the floor is original. And I have to say, I know it's a beautiful hardwood floor. And I don't know if he, wrapped. And when I read the description of how Shane Snellman was found, it's even a bigger mystery to me. I don't know if he wrapped him immediately, because a body, this was a mummified body. It was 6 years. Probably.
Right.
After Shane Snellman had probably broke into his house. So he'd been there 6 years. So a mummified body is one thing, but the process of melting, of dissolving, I don't know if anyone's ever seen that listing of a house where it's beautiful hardwood floor and there's a real distinct outline of a body in black where someone had died in their home.
I have not seen that.
It's on the internet. Sometimes I'm a house hoarder. I love looking at houses, old houses, new houses. They call it house porn. I love looking at houses, weird houses, the way people decorate, the way people paint. I'm always interested in that. But it made me laugh so hard. It's a hilarious chalk outline of a body like you would see on a TV show, except that it's almost perfect black. It's all
right,
all colored in, and it's like they just they dropped where they fell and landed, and they didn't move, which even in Australia, apparently it is, it's a law that you have to disclose if someone died in a home, whether violently or at someone else's hand or of natural causes. So it's just so funny. This realtor, who is just a realtor through and through, Mr. Ferguson, he's like, we were happy to paint, and I want everyone to know the floors are original, and the house went through a forensic cleansing twice.
Yeah. That's a real estate agent all the way through and through.
Totally.
Just always looking on the bright side.
But you have to, if you have a chance to look at the pictures after. They painted the walls mint green and the ceiling light pink. It looks like,
oh my God,
your grandmother threw up all over, in these really, interesting details. It's sort of like crown molding, but it's like detail work around the ceiling, and it's like, what the fuck is happening? It's mint green walls and light pink ceiling.
I just think that the real estate agent just had some shit laying around his garage. Hey, I got these cans of paint. I got some wood here. Why do what you can with it to take away the horribleness of what was here before.
Right. Of a guy dying of a heart attack who took his secrets with him, and a guy who potentially, was a cat burglar breaking in and just broke into the wrong house.
Yes.
So Mr. Roberts had really suffered a lot of mental health issues. It was very well known, the talking to himself, the odd behavior, and apparently he had guns that no one knew about. So Mr. Snellman, even though Bruce Roberts had gotten increasingly more paranoid, it sounds like after Shane Snellman had made entrance to his home. It sounds like
that would make sense.
Yeah, he puts a really weird array of barbed wire around his fence. Again, pictures online. He ties it to like a large tree. There's a what looks like a hand saw kind of embedded in the wood of the tree. It's a very, I don't know if he's using that to, like, as if someone were to grab onto the tree to get over the fence, they would have to cut themselves. It's a very odd setup, what he was trying to do to, keep people out of his property, which I'm guessing happened after he ends up shooting Shane Snellman.
Yeah, he didn't want to have to go through that again, I'm sure.
Yeah, God forbid.
I mean, look, I was enjoying a nice snack watching TV. This guy came in, I had to shoot him. I finished my snack.
Right.
But it was just the next couple of months after that were just not very much fun. I don't want to go through that again.
Yeah, I don't have the budget for enough Glade pine air fresheners to sprinkle around the floor. So the neighbors were like, we thought he was putting up extra security to keep his garden, from being ravaged by animals or something. And it's like, yeah, the garden didn't look like it was in great shape either. There's a washing machine like on its back in the yard. And I mean, it's a typical, hoarder house. I don't know how else to say it, but it's a hoarder house.
With a special extra
thing, with an extra
that's been hoarded.
Right. Okay, so Shane Snellman was released from jail in July of 2012, where he had served time for a string of breaking and entering, and he got regular welfare payments from to his bank account that he withdrew from until October of 2012, and that's when they think that he was probably killed. He, fell off the face of the earth, and it wasn't like there were a lot of people looking for him. His father had looked for him in the jail system in 2003, but you'll find out just the saddest story of his life. I mean, his life was pretty bad, and granted, he made bad decisions, but the way his life ended, also really not good.
Well,
so
it's kind of a topper, don't you think? It's kind of like a cherry on top of a bad
Sunday, a really bad Sunday. So what they believe happened from a post-mortem examination is that Mr. Snellman died of a gunshot wound to the shoulder and a lot of injuries to the body, even though he was basically mummified. So what they think happened is that he got into the house and he was shot from above while he was kneeling on the ground. And he was shot there and didn't really appear to move after he was shot. So the theory is Mr. Roberts shot him while he broke into his home, into his living room, and they call it the lounge. So he is kneeling on the floor of the lounge, and Mr. Roberts shoots him, and that's where he lays, and he just covers him with a rug and some books and some newspapers, and he's found 6 years later, mummified in the house of a man who died of a heart attack without telling anyone where he was. So Shane Snellman, poor Shane Snellman, a really difficult life. His father, John, said that, when his wife died from cancer, he placed his son and daughter into a Catholic convent in 1970. So Shane would have been like 4 or 5. And he went to get them a few weeks later, and the Catholic convent said, no, we're not giving him back. And he fought the welfare system, and they said, no, you're a working person and you have no one to watch your kids. So Shane and his sister were fostered out to local families from the convent. And his father tried numerous times. I guess things were different in the 70s. It just sounds like a terrible thing. But his father, John Snellman, was like, I went through the New South Wales prison system. I tried so hard to find my son. I would occasionally be able to track him down, but as soon as I found a good lead, he would get what he called the wanders, and then he would just take off. He had, occasional jobs, but for the most part, he was kind of, living off the grid, doing breaking and entering, and I think he just broke into the wrong house. I mean, I don't even know how to describe this. It's just it's a terrible thing that a man who had a difficult life and, like I said, made some bad choices, obviously, in his life, but came from a pretty difficult background. This is how he ends up for 6 years being mummified, and some, guy with a lot of mental problems in his house. It's like the worst possible thing. It's like finding somebody in the chimney, dressed as Santa or something. It's like, it's the worst thing ever. The detectives were like, there were air fresheners that were scattered all around the body, which leads us to believe someone really knew he was there. So Bruce Roberts knew he was there. It wasn't like, he snuck in, fell, hit his head, and died on the guy's, floor. He got in somehow, probably caught in the act, and Mr. Roberts didn't take kindly to it and just, ended his life right there and left him there. So, his family often wondered where he was, but there wasn't an official missing persons report filed because he was the guy who would live kind of off the grid and show up and then go away and show up and go away. And the last time anyone had seen him was his sister 10 years earlier during a prison visit. So, they didn't even know what the hell happened to him. They just assumed he was, gone. So his sister Tracy is watching television, and they find a body in the Greenwich house. And she's like, wow, that's just heartbreaking. That's somebody's son or brother or husband. And later that night, there's a knock on her door from the New South Wales police, and they say it's been identified as Shane Snellman, your brother.
Wow.
And she passed out. She passed out and said, obviously I hadn't seen him in a long time, but he is never going to be forgotten. He's a sweet guy with a difficult life. He made bad mistakes for sure. You don't break into people's homes without, But apparently Mr. Roberts had several guns, a rifle and a pistol. A pistol was found somewhere near Mr. Snellman's body, but he was shot with a rifle. So they removed several guns from the home. And what is so, interesting is we'll never know exactly what happened. We'll never know. But I can tell you they're still really, really looking for any information that would tie Shane Snellman to Bruce Roberts. The people that knew him the best, the neighbors, he wasn't even in contact with the cousins that he left his estate to. He hadn't talked to them in 40 years. And, they didn't even know they were going to get, part of his estate. Whatever part didn't go to the, Christmas cards for dogs charity or whatever. So they're looking for anything that would tie Shane Snellman to Bruce Roberts or Bruce Roberts to Shane Snellman. If you happen to be in reach of my voice and you have any idea of what happened in this case, maybe it was self-defense, maybe it was not. We don't know because everyone took the information with them to the next step of our journey, wherever they've gone to. I don't know if they met up someplace after death or if they're just, that's it, goodbye. So I have a phone number that I'm not really sure how it works. It's 1-800-333-000. You probably have to have a country code. But what I also have, if you're not in Australia, what I also have is the website that you can contact the New South Wales Police with an email. Anything you have that would be, information. If you know anything about Bruce Roberts and his solitary life or Shane Snellman and what may have happened, 6 years earlier, why he disappeared. If you know anything, if you know that they knew each other in any other way other than this accidental meeting that ended in both of their lives, please email police.nsw.gov.au. That's police.nsw.gov.au. And more cowbell.
Remember, if you'd like to support the podcast, go to patreon.com/just the Tip-Sters.